Well, I guess I ought to get down to another episode of the Ancestry Anthology. We got a bunch of new ones coming around the corner. I should really get my butt in gear. What? Gunslingers? A new class entirely? Technology in my high fantasy game? What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. I have entirely too much fun YouTubing, and also we've got new classes for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. The Gunslinger, well, I guess that one's not super new, you understand. And the Inventor, actually brand spanking new to Pathfinder at large, which is incredibly exciting for me. So, of course, we got to talk all about them. If you're liking what you see, and remember to like, subscribe, and ding the bell. Do you ever, make a Google sheet and a build for an Enforcer Rogue in 1st edition, and then this comes out and you realize, shit, I gotta make one of these for min-maxing for fun and profit this weekend? Yeah, me neither. But also, we're definitely going to be deep diving into these, and patronage at any tier will get you a Google sheet that all of that will be thrown in on, as well as a bunch of extra cool stuff. I know my Discord is already blowing up about these new classes. Disclaimer, if you become a patron at Black Dragon Gaming, I can and will look at your opinion and be like, that's a good point. Am I the Zuck? Am I data mining too many people? I don't know. What I am doing is rambling. Let's hit it. Okay, so first things first, to immediately push back on the meme I just made, quote, Golarion is a world of magic and mystery, but it is also a world of clockwork soldiers, pistol-twirling pirates, and marvelous innovations, with gnome tinkers and Absalom clockwork mages in New Thassalon, dwarf snipers in Alkenstar, and the gun mages of distant Arcadia. That's exciting as fuck. Golarion offers a wide array of character concepts that haven't been supported in 2e until now. Guns and Gears will include rules for siege engines, firearms, clockwork inventions, and vehicles unlike anything released so far, and 2 new classes. And as a guy who's GMing a homebrew game versus the Dominion of the Black, I'm really hoping to see spaceships and laser guns and shit. But first things first, the Gunslinger. More quote. The first class marks the return of a Pathfinder 1st Edition favorite. As many of you have probably guessed, the Gunslinger has returned. This is the brand new version of an old favorite. It's been rebuilt from the ground up with new subclasses and abilities unique to 2e, including a sniper subclass, specializing in devastating opening attacks, and as well as a built-in bolt ace, it seems, for those of us who just really want to demon hunt with crossbows. Alongside that, we're looking at the Inventor, which interacts with mechanical devices in the heat of combat to influence the direction of the fight, leverage their powerful innovations to deal out devastating attacks, or transform themselves into unbreakable armored bulwarks. Other inventors might prefer to instead rely on their clockwork companions to hold the line, while their PCs use their skills and cunning to heal or support the party. So first reactions, just seeing this, I'm very excited as someone who does enjoy a little bit of tech in his fantasy, as someone who spent a lot of time screaming into the void that gunslingers are good, but they're not so good that you need to ban them from your games. And now they're here in 2nd edition, which means rules for guns in 2nd edition. And it also means 2 new iconics. We got a dwarf for the Gunslinger, and I'm guessing a half-orc, what looks like half-orc Damiel, if I'm honest with you. And I kind of love that for our Inventor. He lives again. And while I definitely like seeing characters outside of trope, and the orc not being the guy with the great axe screaming blood for the blood god evermore, well, I think, damn, that could have been a gnome and I would have actually liked it. Anyway, let's do a quick overview. Gunslingers get 8 hit points. Their key ability is dexterity. They are expert in fort, reflex, trained in will, as well as crafting. 1 or more skills determined by your way. Oh man, someone's been watching Mandalorian. Trained in 3+ int things. They, as a class, are uncommon in rarity. They begin play expert in simple firearms and crossbows, martial firearms and crossbows, advanced firearms and crossbows, as well as simple martial and unarmed attacks. But at least for now, they do not make it to legendary proficiency with those attacks. Looks like misfires will exist as well. If you attempt to fire a firearm that was used the previous day and that hasn't been cleaned and maintained since then, you make a DC 5 flat check before the attack roll. If you fail this misfire check, the weapon jams. The attack also becomes a critical failure, and you must use an interact action to clear the jam before you can reload and fire the weapon again. Once you've spent at least an hour cleaning and maintaining, you don't need to roll until the next day, so essentially when the wizard is prepping spells, you're cleaning this gun. The subclasses are the Drifter, which gets you a initial deed at level 1, into the fray. If you roll initiative, you can interact to draw a ranged weapon and then can interact to draw a one-handed melee weapon. As your first action on your next turn, you can stride toward an enemy you perceive as a free action, which is super dope, and I really, really vibe with sword and pistol characters. As some of my former GMs can attest, this is probably what I'm building this weekend. At level 9, with Rebounding Assault, for 2 actions, if you're wielding a loaded firearm or crossbow and one-handed melee weapon, make a thrown ranged strike with the melee weapon, then a ranged strike with your firearm. Both strike uses the same map. If the weapon doesn't have the thrown trait, it now has thrown 10, so if you really want to just yeet your katana at somebody, very good. If both attacks are successful, the bullet hits the thrown melee weapon instead of your target, adding its force into a single attack, adding both of these together, using the thrown weapon's damage type plus 1d6 precision, which then causes the weapon to bounce back into your hands somehow. And then at 15th, with a greater D, Drifter's Way. For 3 actions, you stride. This doesn't trigger reactions. You can strike up to 3 times at any points during your movement. Each attack must target a different enemy and must be made with firearm, crossbow, or one-handed melee weapon, or a paunchi, counting towards the map. But the map doesn't increase until you've made all your attacks in a very, very good run around the battlefield, hit all the people. I really like that. Next, the Pistolero. Oh, did I say that was trained in acrobatics? You get trained in acrobatics. Very good. Pistoleros are trained in either deception or intimidation and get 10 paces at the beginning. If you roll initiative, you get a +2 circumstance bonus to your initiative roll and can interact to draw a crossbow, firearm, or one-handed melee weapon. As your first action on your next turn, you can stride up to 10 feet as a free action. Quick, run away! We need to shoot them! And at level 9, God, the flavor text behind that, the way I said it, is hilarious. I'm just picturing the goblin gunslinger running backwards as fast as possible, spraying as he goes. Anyway, 9th level, Pistolero's Retort. As a reaction, a foe within either your reach or weapon's first range increment crit fails an attack roll against you. Make a strike against the triggering foe with a firearm, crossbow, one-handed melee weapon, or unarmed attack. We see things like that a lot. It makes sense you would see it here too. And then finish the job for 1 action. Your last action was a failed strike with a firearm or crossbow held in one hand. Make a strike with your other hand using a second loaded firearm or crossbow, one-handed melee weapon, or an armed attack. The map doesn't apply to this strike. You can't make this strike if you're holding something in your second hand other than one of those listed options. And I guess my first thought, now as I read and begin to process this, is how do we reload the gun? I suppose I will learn how we reload the gun as I read more about this, but I know that was a huge thing back in the day. It was like, do I have a hand free? Can I reload this thing? Are there now clips and magazines? Prehensile tails? Moving on, the Way of the Sniper, trained in stealth. Initial deed, 1 shot, 1 kill. If you roll stealth for initiative, you interact to get your weapon out. On your first turn of the encounter, the first strike you make with that weapon that hits deals an additional 1d6 precision damage. This increases to 2d6 at 9th and 3d6 at 15th, and looks really good for some NPCs I'm using in a game on Friday. Very good. Vital Shot at 9th for 2 actions. Make a ranged strike if the target is flat-footed. The strike deals an extra die of weapon damage, and the foe takes persistent bleed equal to the amount of bonus damage from 1 shot, 1 kill. Several d6s of bleed, not bad. And then Ghost Shot at 15th. Make a firearm or crossbow strike for 1 action. If you're hidden, undetected, or unobserved, the strike deals additional precision damage equal to the precision damage from 1 shot, 1 kill. And you don't automatically become observed after. Doubly dope if you're using a crossbow, which is silent, when you really want to get your Assassin's Creed on. Anyway, there's a boatload of feats there. I'll dig into them more as we get into the build. And honestly, I might do several min-maxing for fun and profits out of this just to see what I can put together. Before we talk about our Inventor, let's take a look at these guns we have, shall we? Looks like we've got quite a few. Some of them are simple and some of them are martial. You've got everything from a musket, which does 1d6 piercing and has fatal d10, versatile bludgeoning, the hand cannon doing 1d4 modular, because indeed you're kind of just jamming things into those and firing whatever grape shot you can make. Oh, that's terrifying. The arquebus, I think I mispronounced that. It's been a long time since Shogun 2 Total War, what can I say? With the sniper trait, when you hit flat-footed creatures, it deals extra precision damage on top of its normal damage at 1d8, which seems to be where they cap for now. Not overly concerned about that fatal D12, I suppose, good lord. As well as the unsteady trait, which means you need to take an action to aim before firing, otherwise you throw your shoulder out of the socket, or I guess buy a tripod. Leadership in a small race to like huck it over its shoulder and hold it while you're firing. You do you. And the scatter trait on the blunderbuss, which means this thing fires in a 15-foot cone. One target within that cone is your primary target, and you're rolling to hit them. But everything else within the cone, including the primary target, takes splash damage equal to the number of weapon damage dice of the same type as the attack. So for our blunderbuss, you're doing 1d8 plus 1, or 1 splash damage to everybody else, which obviously ticks up as you enchant the thing. I can already think of how many dudes in trees might be waiting for my party. I mean, what? Dominion War players don't listen to that. Inventor! The ability is intelligence, 8 hit points. It's expert in fort and will, trained in reflex. It too, uncommon. It's trained in crafting, you don't say. +3 plus int skills, trained in all of the attacks and all the armors and things. And all of these guys at first level get an innovation, all of which can explode, dealing 2d6 fire damage and a 5-foot emanation around you if you're wearing or holding it, or if your innovation is a minion, because now we've got robot friends. This ticks up as you level, and the innovation also doesn't get damaged in this, so your little clockwork goblin friend just sometimes blows up and is fine, but they're not, so that's cool. And we can make just so many things out of this. First off, armor, for all you Iron Man players out there. The armor gives you an AC bonus of 4, a dex cap of 1, a check penalty of 2, a speed penalty of 5 feet, a strength of 16, and 2 bulk. It also gets 1 initial modification, which grants you resistance equal to 2, plus half your level to a number of damage types while you wear the armor. Harmonic Oscillator giving you resistance to force and sonic, metallic resistance for acid and electricity, otherworldly protection for negative or positive, as well as like the alignment things, or thermal insulation for cold and fire. The construct one makes you a little tiny babby, which can be adjusted by taking feats at higher levels like Advanced Companion, which we will probably build around when we get to this. My heart says I really want like a clockwork bear monster. Everything from an amphibious thing, to a very fast thing, to a construct with a mounted cannon, upgraded brain or sensory array. Or you could just make yourself a homebrew weapon, which is essentially grab a level 0 common symbol or martial weapon, or any other weapon in which you have access, and then jamming things on top of it, like a segmented frame, to give it different damage types and make it collapsible. Razor prongs to give things the trip trait, pacification for non-lethal, a modular head to, well, switch out the blade of your sword for a blunt part, hooray. Or you could just tick up the damage dice of a simple weapon. And of course, last but not least, our construct companions, which possess roughly animal level intelligence, gets the construct trait, so that's neat. It's either small or medium, has its own senses, speeds, and ability score stat block, as we can see here, as well as, I'm so very sure, a bunch of other things we can tack onto it from Inventor feats as we go. And yeah, that's a lot to take in, a lot to process. I have been thinking it before, now I'm very sure if anyone has room for me in their 2E games, I clearly need to play this stuff more so I can learn how it works. And it's good to feel the 2nd edition hype once again. I'm definitely on the other side of the burnout I was feeling, and I can't wait to get my hands on these and shoot my players to death. I suppose, quick final thought, it feels kind of sad that the sniper couldn't use a longbow as well to do precision-y things. I will probably house rule that at my tables, given that that seems to be the only gunslinger that could possibly interact with it. For no reason that has nothing to do with cultists in the tundra hunting my party that all have bows. We're not worried about that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you're thinking about these down in the comments. I imagine the next few videos BDG puts out that aren't the Ancestry Anthology, which I want to catch up on, will be deep diving and talking all about these. As always, thank you all so much for your support. I'll see you next time.